Greetings, Melanthropes. I'm your host and narrator, John, and welcome to another episode of Legitcast, a ZineQuest 2025 creator podcast. Um, I'm a fellow ZineQuester participating in this ZineQuest with Melanthropes Anthology, which is live. But today is all about Caught in the Rain, which is not yet live, but soon will be. And we are joined by Brandon and Nicholas. Let me change that name for you. Sorry, I changed it to the stream. How you doing? Good morning. Good day.
Good night over here, but I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. Yourself, John?
Yeah.
I'm great. It's early. It's early noon here. Wait, why did I change the name? Oh, I changed the other.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And how are you, Brandon?
So as I change the
Yeah,
names,
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
as I change the names, how about you tell me first for Rivers Bridge Emporium, if I say that correctly, because you have a fascinating thing going on there. I see your stuff in Instagram. You have from zines to magic potions. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of things going on the Ravensridge Emporium store there. Do you want to talk to that, Brandon?
Yeah, I can do that. How's my volume? All right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
all
cool.
good.
So Ravensridge Emporium started out when my wife wanted me to buy her a new hobby for Christmas. She was like, "I don't know what you should get me. Just get me some new hobby. I like craft and all that kind of stuff." And at the time I was playing D&D, and I was like, "I'll get her like a dice making kit, because then she can make me cool dice for my D&D characters." And it turned out that she absolutely loved making dice, and she was really good at it too. So we decided, well, she was looking at other people on Instagram and stuff who make dice and sell them, and she was like, maybe I could try selling the dice. And so what started out as like a hobby, spur of the moment for Christmas, sort of became we tried to make a business out of it. And it was originally just selling handmade dice for Dungeons and Dragons. And then, as you've probably seen on the Instagram, we've also started making magic potions, which are like props for D&D. And somewhere along the line, Nicholas joined our ranks, and we've been making role-playing games together for a long time now. And yeah, so we sort of started out making props and accessories and that sort of stuff for role-playing games, until we actually started making games of our own as well, which is sort of now where we're more focusing. But my wife still makes plenty of beautiful dice and potions and makes her own games as well.
Before we get into more TTRPG questions, you have to excuse me, but I have more questions about the props. Can you drink what's inside the magic potions or not?
We get asked that so often. we are at the point now where we think we should probably open a brewery or something where we can make our own alcohol and actually sell it. Because it looks, I understand, because it looks so enticing, but you cannot, unfortunately, drink them.
Very important to know. It's not a real life healing potion then.
No, if anything, it's probably bad for you. This is probably more a poison potion than anything.
Okay, so you're making poisons. Nice. No, I'm kidding.
Don't tell anyone. Shh.
So yeah, it's really great to have all those props in your table, and yeah, I haven't really seen it much elsewhere. So yeah, it's fascinating to create like both aspects, the theater of mind and the prop for your table.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit about solo TTRPGs in general. Oh, whoops, I shouldn't do that. There we go. Okay. So okay, let me put this one over there then. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, we're good. So before we get into Caught in the Rain, let's talk about solo TTRPGs in general, if you may, because I haven't created one. I don't think I have played one. I've played Choose Your Own Adventures before, and I'm very curious to learn more about it, because I think it's very hot right now in the TTRPG community, and especially in the ZineQuest as well. I think it's like the first year that's like, I think it's so hot right now, solo TTRPGs. So let's talk about in general, and then we're gonna talk about the specifics of Caught in the Rain. So solo TTRPGs.
Sounds great.
What's up with them?
Shall I start, Brandon?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, what's up with solo RPGs? Honestly, it's even though it feels like a bit of a niche in the RPG community, it feels like such a big topic to sort of just jump into, I suppose. Maybe I'll come at it probably from how I entered the world of solo RPGs, and that was really thanks to Tim Hutchings' Thousand-Year-Old Vampire. I don't know if you've heard of that
I
one,
do,
John.
yeah.
It's pretty popular, pretty big solo RPG. Yeah, that really captured my I guess imagination. Kind of like when I first played that, and I went through that, concocting the story of this lone vampire who probably went through a lot more turmoil than most of us would in our lives. It really captured my imagination and sort of opened up this world of solo RPGs to me, and like what a role-playing game could be. I'd played many RPGs prior to getting into that and giving that a shot, but it's really inspired me to actually try to create my own. I love the idea of just being able to tell a story by myself for a short while or something, if no one's available or around, and really just delve into like a particular scene and sort of control that pacing. And I think that to me was what was really exciting about solo RPGs, being able to delve into particular topics and be able to like take my time rather than sort of being brought along with the group, which is great. And I love that. But the solo RPG just offers a more, I guess, intimate or cozy kind of experience.
So we have like choose your own adventure, we have journaling. Can you help me understand the differences between them? I think like I got them, but maybe I hear them from you better.
Right, yeah, the differences. Yeah, I feel like there's always a new kind of solo role-playing game that's being worked on or created. But yeah, the big ones I would say, you have your journaling kind of role-playing games where, to me at least, I might step back a bit. To me, the main difference between a lot of these games is really about how the player engages with the story, how they engage that role, the role that they take on and embody when they tell the story there. So for me, the journaling games, they really do that through writing. They're exploring the character, they're exploring the world, they're setting those scenes as they write, or maybe sort of they sort of consolidate those thoughts that they've had when they sit down to write out that journal, usually driven by some sort of prompt system, like a way to like come up with a sparks ideas and direct the story, that kind of thing. To me, that's sort of what a journaling solo RPG is, compared to something that's a little bit more freeform, where it's not particularly journaling. It sort of takes a bit of a step back and puts that in the player's hands. How are you going to engage in the actual game itself? How are you going to embody that role? One of my favorite, I guess, mediums of engaging was I actually haven't done it myself, but I really enjoyed it. Was the idea of vlogging your game. So there was a solo RPG called The Wretched a couple of years ago by Chris Bissett. Great game, and it was encouraged that you actually vlogged your journey, or your time as a lone survivor on this spacecraft, being hunted by this alien. And there was I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but they had a series which was just their vlogs of their story that they told, and that was really wonderful. It was very different to a journaling kind of role-playing game. Yeah, Brandon, did you have anything to add around the distinction?
That's interesting. Creating content from a solo TTRPG like this vlog series that you mentioned sound interesting.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
Yeah. I think it also is like with journaling games, it is sort of specifically expected that you are going to record your story, your experience in the medium of writing, whether that's dot points or paragraphs or first person or third person, totally up to you. But I feel like that's sort of intrinsic to a journaling game, whereas in these freeform games, you don't even have to record anything at all if you don't want to. You can entirely keep it in your mind. If you have such a mind that could do such a thing, which I certainly don't. I definitely have to record my experiences in some way. But yeah, and I think those freeform solo role-playing games, they feel more like traditional role-playing games to me. It feels more like, the action and everything is driven by what your character is doing in the fiction, and there are mechanics that support them attempting to do whatever the hell they want. But in like a journaling game, like Nick said, with the prompts, you're often just, in some form or another, you'll draw a prompt and it will sort of tell you what sort of situation is happening to your character and how you're going to respond. Like, I feel like the action in the game is less driven by your character and them intending to act on the world in a journaling game. It's more just like the world happens to them in some form or another, and then you respond to that.
Fascinating.
If that makes sense.
It does. I think that like the whole TTRPG industry and scene changed after COVID, and more people got into RPGs and playing VTTs and online without VTT in general. And that like changed completely our industry, I think. And I think it's kind of happening with solo RPGs as well. It's like the next step of social distancing, that goes by. The next step is like, I'm starting to enjoy playing RPGs and solo games on my own. And I might be mistaken, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think like 5 years solo RPGs was a thing, right? 5 years ago, I mean.
I'm honestly not really sure. There were a few floating around, and the Mythic Game Emulator, which is probably one of the biggest sort of names I would say in the solo RPG space, was definitely around for I can't remember the first one, about 10 years or a bit.
Okay.
That one came out, yeah, and then there was also I can't remember. There was always like a couple small things, I would say, around the time. Like there was a module or something around playing D&D solo, but it was never as big.
Yeah,
you're right. I think in the past 5 years, probably, around the time of the pandemic, I think things really exploded in the solo RPG space.
There are always some pioneers who have been doing it prior, but now it's super hot. So let's start talking about your solo TTRPG. This year participate in ZineQuest. Every year that you participate, you create something amazing. And this year, you create Caught in the Range solo mystery TTRPG, a solo TTRPG system to create investigative mysteries from gloomy noir to a far future sci-fi. So let's start with that, because I'm really a sucker for anything that has to do with multiple different eras mixing up together. So why don't you start telling me about this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, you summed it up quite nicely there. I mean, or we summed it up at least on the page. But yeah, Caught in the Rain is was essentially it started off as a design challenge for myself a few years ago. I was very involved in the solo RPG space, blog posts, Reddit engagement and such, and there was always talk about trying to like a way to tell stories where it was a mystery and it was still kind of a surprise for the player. I think there's always inherently a bit of a surprise when you play a solo game. You never quite know where it might go, and you try to be open to ideas. But creating a game that was specifically around a mystery was a bit different in the solo space. So I thought it would be a fun challenge for myself. And the design and everything plodded along for a little while, and kind of didn't go nowhere for a bit, and I was struggling to get it finished. And that's when Brandon stepped in to help me finish it up and refine the design a little bit more and bring it to everyone here. And so it's a solo RPG that's really driven by cards and dice. So a deck of playing cards is used in a few different ways to kind of simulate the mystery and delving and through that deck to sort of find clues, and through a matter of a bit of deduction and process of elimination, you're able to essentially discover what the mysteries are, represented by some cards that you put aside at the start of the game. Mechanically, that's sort of what's going on there. And then there's a few other mechanics strapped on with the dice. You got some attribute rolls and things, and setting the scene, and I think a really engaging way to push you through a particular type of investigative scene where you come out with a clue as well. That kind of helps to tie it all together and create this real tense narrative of an investigator in any sort of genre, and that was an important element. uncovering the truth of something at the end of it before they sort of draw the attention of the powers that be.
So I get the noir, gloomy noir, caught in the rain. Where does the sci-fi thingy mix it up with this?
Yeah, so we created this system to be genreless, effectively. You know, at its core, the system is able to be applied to lots of different genres, any genre you really want. A lot of my playtesting was done in very strange gonzo settings and such. But in the final version of the game, we wanted to provide essentially players with tools to be able to tell those stories in some very popular genres, like your sci-fi, like your gloomy noir, or like your gothic sort of horror, and fantasy as well. So we created essentially a set of oracles, which are, you know, in effect like random tables, but a little bit more flavored towards and facilitated towards the solo role-playing experience. So there I can't even remember the final table count at the moment. Brandon, do you?
So
Not sure. So many. Yeah, we have pages and pages of these tables, tools for players that they just.
It's nearly half the
pick.
book.
It's nearly, yeah, that's right. Yeah, doubled it. Yeah, so essentially what they do is these oracles that will help a player tell a particular type of mystery story in a certain type of genre.
And
so it's less like the genres blend, and it's more like I mean, I guess you could as a player blend the genres if you wanted, and that would be a simple matter of some narrative reason for the genres blending, and then you can just move over to the different set of oracles. So, you know, your character finds a portal and they get transported back in time, and now you start using the fantasy tables for, you know, whatever oracles you need to use. But yeah, so that element of it is more just like you can pick which genre you're going to run this game in. But usually by default, I was running it in noir just because I couldn't get away from that idea in my head of, you know, the smoky, moonlit streets with the investigator with the cigarette in the mouth and everything, you know.
Yeah, this is a great visual, and it could work like also in cyberpunk detectives, you know, or like like early 1900s or something. So I find it fascinating that you basically play detectives and you can choose your own setting essentially that you know inspires you the most. So we have 20 plus genre tables. Wow. We have 80 pages, so it's gonna be like a staple bound or a soft cover back. How's the print?
It's gonna be hardcover by the end.
Hardcover. Oh wow. And
yeah.
narrative oracles to aid your creativity and spark ideas in your story. Sounds amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the cards here.
I think I'll defer to you, Brandon. You're the genius behind them.
Okay, sure. So I suppose with solo role playing, one of the things that most people that play particularly more freeform solo role-playing games do is when they're going to sit down to play a given game, they'll assemble their various oracles and things that they're going to use for the game. So they might have a particular random name generator that they like to use for their NPCs, and they might have like a Spark table generator or a town generator, and these might be all different things, different books, different websites, whatever it is they want to use. And so I used to do that a bit too, and I sort of found it a little bit cumbersome to have, you know, many things that I was trying to reference when I was trying to engage with the story. And so we had the idea for Caught in the Rain, given it's a card based, like a lot of the systems in it rely on a deck of standard playing cards, to instead of, you know, have different art pieces on all the cards, would use the space of the cards to put all of those, you know, random generators and oracles on the cards themselves. So you only have one source that you can ideally use for nearly everything you'd need in a solo game. So it's got, you know, random names. You can generate names for your NPCs. It's got like a silhouette of an object in the middle. So if you're like, oh, what do I find in this chest? It's a skull. It's got a bunch of spark words, which is a pretty common oracle that is used in freeform solo role-playing games, where you would defer to a table that just has a bunch of, could be adjectives or nouns or various words, and you roll a couple of dice and get a couple of random words, and the first sort of thing that pops into your head and how it could be incorporated into the narrative, that's what you use to sort of spark the question you're asking in the given scene. And so on the borders of these cards, we've got a bunch of spark words, which, just a quick aside, was an absolute pain in the butt to do the layouting for, to get all the words to go around that nice and neatly. That took me so long, but that's fine. I won't rant here. And yeah, but also, it's also feasible to use it as a dice roller as well. It's got random dice rolls in it, and you can just use it as a standard deck of playing cards as well. So we kind of just wanted to consolidate all of those different tables that any solo role player might want to use for any given card-based solo role-playing game. In fact, probably any solo role-playing game you could use this for, card-based or not, and just use it as your oracle. And so we tried to make it agnostic to our game. You can definitely use it for our game, and it certainly works really well, but it also works for any other sort of solo role-playing game you might want to have random generators for, and it's in a nice, neat little deck of playing cards.
Let's talk a little bit more about the thing that got you, the thing that you found so difficult, fitting all those words. So I see like humor, cruel, timer, herald on the top. Can you like give me some examples how this works with the dice rolling, and what exactly clues that they give you to solve the mystery?
Do you want to go, Nick?
Yeah. Okay, sure. I'll take this one. Yeah, so I guess maybe what I'll do first is give you a quick idea of like how you would go about playing a solo RPG, right? So when you're in a group and there's probably a game master, or maybe there's no game master, but you start off by setting the scene. You're like, where are we? Is there anyone here? What's going on? You set that scene, you establish that, you sort of position where your characters are, and then you're like, well, what am I doing? Like maybe you take an action or something like that. Perhaps you're the investigator and you know that there's like maybe there's like some burnt out car or something on the road, right? It's still smoldering a little bit, it's still smoking a bit, and you want to walk over and maybe have a look at that, but you're like, well, what's in it? Is there anything still in the car? And all of a sudden you've landed on this question, and you're not sure where the answer is, right? You could just come up with something, or you could take that deck of cards, flip the top one over, and see what catches your eye. It could be that image in the center, or it could be one of the words around the edge there. And you maybe take a couple of those words, put them together, and it starts to sort of spark an answer to that question. And so slowly you build up this scene, and then slowly you take more actions with your character. You get some more questions to yourself. You're not sure what the answer is. And normally a game master might be describing that scene, but you're essentially the player and the game master at the same time. So you use these words or these dice rolls effectively to help determine those outcomes. The words inspire ideas and answers to the questions, and the dice rolls add a little bit of whimsy or randomness to that. Do you succeed really well? Do you succeed maybe just a little bit? Is there a complication that arises?
I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not prepared, but is it possible to give us an actual example, like something that could happen while playing, like, or you're not ready for that? Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. Or maybe like give me like something to imagine, like, but an actual, because I'm not sure exactly how the words, like, are the like adjectives for the one that the suspect that I'm looking for, something like that.
Yeah, I reckon we could probably give a bit of an example.
Yeah.
A bit more in depth there. Gosh. All right. Let me just bring up a couple of some of the words there so I can.
Again, sorry if it's.
Why don't we go with No, you're fine. This is a good challenge.
Yeah.
I can go with the ones that John said. So there was cruel and humor. Could we use that in the car scene maybe?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea, right? So yeah, let's picture ourselves. We have let's say we're not a detective, right? Let's just say we're a family man, and we're looking for our dog. It was a rainy sort of night. We went out to take the rubbish out. The back gate is open, and the dog was sort of running around that night, and we can't find it, right? So we've run up the driveway. We've gone out onto the road. It's a bit dark. It's raining. And we're looking around for our dog, and this is when we come across this car, right? It's smoldering a little bit. It's a bit burnt out by this point, And so we're approaching that, right? What's going on with this? We want to find out a little bit more there. So yeah, all those words then again, Brandon?
I think there was cruel and humor along the top of that card there.
Cruel and humor, right? So I might ask myself, well, what does this character, this person I'm playing, what are they going to find in that car seat there? And the words cruel and humor, let's say I've gone to the card, I flipped that up, those are the words that have come up, or I've gone to an oracle and I've generated a few words to piece together. And I'm like, cruel and humor. Okay, so I'm trying to think of something that is in the car seat in this situation that these two words kind of spark some idea, and I can go
Maybe
there
something
with.
like
Now, there's
a
probably some
street
obvious
artist who made like a prank on the car and burned it, something like that.
Exactly, right. So
Perfect.
that's when we realized, oh, there's actually like a signature here or something. And it's this street artist. We recognize their art, and this isn't actually a crime scene. It's an art piece. Yeah, perfect, John.
And that artist stole our dog. God damn it.
Exactly.
Damn
right?
that
So we need to
guy.
go and find him. He might have answers. And there you go. You
But I
then
think,
sort of
now I
start a
get
new
it, how this works, and it's fascinating. And okay, I think I get it now, and it's indeed very fascinating. So it's coming February 25th. Okay, starting off, isn't it a bit late for ZineQuest? I mean, theoretically, it is part of ZineQuest, but don't you feel that the initial enthusiasm of ZineQuest might have left by the end of February? I'm not sure, just asking. Maybe it's maybe it's better to better be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted
That
to make
is
sure we
a
had
good
some
point.
things ready, right?
Yeah.
I was a little concerned that we might miss out on the initial excitement. But what do you think, Brandon? With Cartograph, that was also around that time too, last year.
Yeah, I think Cartograph was a little earlier into ZineQuest. I think it was still finished up. I think it finished at the very end of ZineQuest, maybe the 4th of March or something like that. But for this one, it was more a case of we wanted to participate in ZineQuest, but we also wanted to make sure that we had time to send out review copies to reviewers. So that was a tactic that we used for Cartograph last year, and it worked really well. Having YouTuber presence, a lot of small creators sort of reviewing Cartograph, and it really was helpful to bring a lot of attention to the game. And so we wanted to do that again, but we had a pretty tight deadline because we were getting the cover artist to make the art in December, and so we couldn't print any copies of the game until the art was done for the cover. And so that basically finished up at the end of December, and then we needed to get a small print run done so that we could send out some copies to these artists, to these reviewers. And we also wanted to give them enough time to actually play the game and review the game, and film a YouTube video and have it ready in time for the Kickstarter. So we settled on that date more as less of a marketing tactic and more as a circumstance of what our time constraints allowed us to do. We've sort of prioritized having a book in the hands of the reviewers over maybe gaining some initial hype from ZineQuest. And so given it hasn't launched yet, maybe it will pay off, maybe not. We'll see.
I think with over 1,000 followers, you will be good. Don't you worry about that. I'm just thinking, this is the podcast is all about learning stuff, and not just the three of us, but the audience too. So, like if someone has a project but they're not entirely ready, you can go end of February. It's all good. It's better to have a good launch rather to stick on schedule. I have to say that we have fallen victims of that. I have said that we want to launch February 4th, and we weren't kind of 100% ready February 4th, but we did it anyway, and it wasn't the best idea. So 1,000 signups. This is definitely an achievement. To my knowledge, I think you're the only two. You and Nick of Perfect Rock this year that have reached this high number before launching. Okay, how did you do it? How you do it? I suppose not an easy answer, but can you tell us if you use ads or if you relied on this marketing ideas that you had, like sending to reviewers? So take us through this process, if you may.
Yeah, I can probably take this one. So I think, we are also very new. I don't have any background in marketing. None of us really do, but we just kind of fumbled our way through this. And my wife, Jessie, as we sort of mentioned, starting out as a dice business, it was sort of important for us to really work on our engagement with people. And so really early on, my wife Jessie was absolutely fantastic at just keeping up conversation with people and just talking to people, whether that be customers for the dice or just other dice makers, just people in the scene. And so she was really good at that. And so for this Kickstarter campaign, well, for the previous one and for this one, we kind of adopted a bit of a similar strategy where we had built up enough sort of connections where we could do things like this, where we would go on podcasts and talk about the game. So for Cartograph, we had a couple of podcasts that we talked on, and we did reviewers. So we ended up getting about half a dozen reviewers that we sent books to, and that was a huge boost in our followers. But on top of that, we also just had the Instagram account that we had built up for maybe 3 years, mainly for the audience of our dice craft. But given it's pretty adjacent to, most role-playing games need dice. So it wasn't really that slight of a change for our audience when we started talking about role-playing games instead of dice. And so we had a decent amount of audience that came from our Instagram as well to support us in our game endeavors. And then on top of that, we also do meta ads. I've talked to Nick a little bit about it, of The Perfect Rock, and he's absolutely fantastic at his meta ads. But we've just sort of gone with the approach of we're going to have a small budget, and we have made enough money from selling dice and stuff to have a marketing budget, which I know is a luxury, specifically for small indie creators. Not everybody has the luxury of having money that they can upfront put into marketing. So we're lucky in that regard that our supplementary TTRPG products can sort of help us fund some of the marketing for this stuff. But we did meta ads, and we started running them. I reckon it's probably been a month and a half now. So it was. So by the time I launch, it'll probably be 2 months of running meta ads, and we just run them on the lowest cost you can. I think it ends up being about $5 Australian a day or something like that. And we just run them really, really low, but we find that it probably generates maybe 10 followers every day. So for us, I don't know the marketing standard for that. I don't know if that some people might be hearing that and being like, that is terrible.
I'm not sure either, but I think it's good.
Sure.
I think it's good. I think it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that on top of those other.
Yeah. Sorry. So
Sorry, go
these
ahead.
ads are like to bring people to followers, basically, to your page directly. Right.
Yeah, that's right. So it's
because we
straight to the Kickstarter
recently
page.
learned about lead ad campaigns, and I was wondering if you started with working like your lead ad campaigns first or not.
I will be plain. I don't know what that is. A lead ad campaign. I'm not
It's
sure.
like giving you like the email, but also clicking accept to be able to send them info as a creator.
Right.
But yeah, I think you
Yeah,
had like
okay.
a strong foundation, and you didn't need to start with that. And I think it's like something new. But I'm not good at ads at all. This is not my field. Shout out to QP.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you had like a goal: we shouldn't launch until we have 1,000. Were you expecting 1,000? Because they're pretty much. It's a big number for ZineQuest, definitely.
Yeah, it is a big number. I don't think we were expecting 1,000. I think we were going to be happy with about 500. I think we would have been like,
Wow.
yeah, hell yeah, that's an achievement.
We were celebrating when we had 100. I remember when we first hit 100.
Yeah.
We were like, "This is going to be a success."
Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
by this time you should know that you are pretty good in the field, among the best, I should say. And for that reason, let's get back a little bit
Thank
to
you.
Caught in the Rain. Yeah, I truly believe that. You're among the legends of the field. So thank you for joining me. I'm very excited. So I've seen a lot of, speaking of ads, but then turning it back to Caught in the Rain, I've seen a lot of ads this past few months of like crime solving. Like you get a folder and it has like the crime inside, but it's not a TTRPG. And I think it takes this fascinating concept of solving mysteries on your own, but as a solo TTRPG, and takes it to the next level. And yeah, have you seen those ads with the solve your mystery in this folder?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. But the main thing that comes to my mind, actually, when you mention it, is there's a series of board games called the Exit board games. which are sort of like are you familiar with them?
Exit
Or
board games. Exit. Not sure. Not
yeah,
sure.
it's a series of board games where it's you can play by yourself or with a small group. But effectively, it's a series of puzzles in the box. Sometimes using the box itself, and you hunt for clues around there, and you piece it together. And there's usually a bit of a story that pulls you along. Um, yeah, they're quite interesting. Bren, do you have any experience with those, or do you see those ads that John mentioned?
I did see those ads, and my sister got me one for Christmas.
Oh,
And it was actually really good. Like I had a really good time with it. And incidentally, actually, I used all of the props that I got in it in the advertising I've been doing for Caught in the Rain, because it came with, dossiers and like photos and things like that. So I was like, this is perfect. I can like make an investigative scene and film it for Caught in the Rain. But yeah, I have played it and it was quite good. I guess like the downside is it's one and done. Once you play through the experience, you
Yeah,
can't do it
you know
again.
how it's being
You know.
solved. Yeah. I think this is where with
Yeah,
TTRPG
exactly.
solo you can take it to the next level and have much more replayability, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ideally, every single time you play, you could play an entirely different mystery. Like even the example Nick gave before about the family man looking for his dog. That's a totally valid mystery you could play in Caught in the Rain. You don't necessarily have to be, a
Murders,
policeman or
yeah.
or a Yeah, it doesn't have to be murders.
Always
Exactly.
murder, yeah. There are the crimes
Always
to
murder.
solve, yeah. It's arson,
yeah.
there's theft.
I
You
think
know, you can catch other people too.
Exactly.
yeah, it was
Um,
important that we wanted to step away from that a bit. Like it's still there, it's still very valid, but we just wanted to give an opportunity for people to play a mystery that's not just that. It could be anything as long as there's a truth to be found. That's a valid mystery, effectively.
yeah, I love that. I love that. It's a very open-ended, and I think it gives you all the creative juices to run mysteries, even it's small time, very, very small time, like I lost my dog or like catching the bank
Yeah,
heist with the diamonds or something. Um,
yeah. Or
Exactly.
which cat stole the food on the bench or something like
this is
that.
a
You know.
mystery, yeah. Which of the
Yeah.
which of my two cats did it? Yeah. Well, in my case, there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
one suspect. There's always one suspect. One of my cats does all the nasty stuff. The other one always hides. So if something falls, I know exactly who made it. So I think God in the Rain is gonna do spectacularly. I think it's gonna be one of the best Zinequests of this year. Although it's coming by the end of it, but I'm really glad that I had the chance to talk with you before going live and pick your thoughts about both the creative and the business stuff. Because as I think we were off camera, as Brandon suggested, it's like basically 80% running a business and 20% game designing, something like it. It's
Yeah.
it's
It certainly feels that way sometimes.
yeah, it is what it is. It is the industry we live in, and so I wish you all
That's
the
right.
best with your ZinQuest. I'm looking forward to seeing it reach the stars. Do you have a
Thank
message,
you.
a special message for the over 1,000 people waiting for Caught in the Rain?
Gosh, well, do we have a message? I mean, I'm just excited for people to get the game and play the game. It's really been actually a long development cycle, I guess, for this particular game, and I think it's probably some of our best work yet. So very excited for people to enjoy it when they finally get it in their hands, for sure. And I just thank everyone that's followed it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely very humbled by how many people are interested in the project. So we're super, super thankful.
So there you have it, folks. Caught in the Rain is coming to Kickstarter ZinQuest February 25th. So make sure you definitely check that out. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much to Brandon and Nicholas for joining me in this episode. It's going to go live. It's going to be uploaded in a few days. Thank you so much for everyone for watching. And as always, stay legit and stay meta.